Hey, what's up? Welcome to Degen Ed. That's degenerative education, meaning none of this is financial advice. Just me having fun looking at charts and hanging out. Hopefully, you guys are doing great. Had a good weekend. It is Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for Ticker Requests Live. Here to hang out and go over some charts with you guys. Whatever you want to request, just put it in the chat and I'll try to make my way down the list. Doesn't look like there's anybody here just yet. But yeah, happy to go over whatever. And also, thought, every week what I might do is I might just try to have fun with a thumbnail, maybe make it, something based on, what's happened over the course of the week. And I have to say, congrats to Ed for getting awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Unfortunately, for well, actually, maybe I shouldn't say that. But yeah, good for him. I had wanted to put an image of Mark Cuban crying on the thumbnail, but Grok wasn't making it very good. But yeah, Ed got it over Mark, so I think that's something to be celebrated. And with that being said, I think you guys can probably hear that. Got a little beverage. I've been at work all weekend. Didn't have any work to do, so I, try to be productive, responding to comments. So hopefully you guys saw those. And yeah, I'm pretty tired, so hopefully I can, make it for at least an hour. But my eyelids are feeling a little heavy. But anyways, cheers to you guys, and the start of the new week, a short week with Thursday. Markets closed for Jimmy Carter. Which is actually, I think, pretty interesting because that is possibly, a date that Roaring Kitty was suggesting might be significant. So, yeah, should be a pretty interesting week, even though we've got one less day. And I'm looking forward to having a 5-day week because, it's just only 4 days. It's sad. But anyways, cheers, guys. And so I see the chat there. What's up, Mr. Bagel Show? And Saul, hey, what's up? Requesting QSI and APLD. Happy to do it. Yeah, it's been a while since I looked at APLD. QSI and APLD. And Mr. Bagel Show, how about looking at UMC? United Microelectric. A great semiconductor stock. Cool. And so, yeah, I might start with QSI. I don't believe I've ever looked at that one before. I was thinking, it might be nice to kind of go over OKLO, which I believe is nuclear or, let's see, yeah, nuclear energy. This is something that Colin went over in the video that, I shared on the channel. And over the course of the past year, I had explored. Actually, I should probably add this to the. I think I have a uranium watch list. Yep, uranium watch list. So I'm going to add it over there. Yeah, so maybe at some point during the stream, I might look at this one as well as maybe some other uranium stocks. Yeah, 2025 might be a good year for those. But I was looking to get into like calls or something, but it's just like they were a little too expensive. And so I just didn't want to spread myself too thin looking at them. But I will look at, let's see, QSI. This is quantum silicon. Let's see, what is this? What's the quantum SI? Quantum Psi? Quantum Psi Incorporated is a life sciences company. The company has designed and developed a hardware, consumable, and software solution to provide a solution for protein detection and analysis. It has developed proprietary universal single molecule detection platforms. Platform enable. Let's see. Has developed a proprietary universal single molecule detection platform. Enables next generation protein sequencing, or NGPS, the ability to sequence proteins. Its launched product consists of Platinum, the Platinum analysis software, and consumables. Anyways, that's enough. Yeah, so this seems like it's tech and life science biotech. And yeah, I was just responding to somebody's comment about, or no, I think maybe Yeah, I think I was responding to somebody's comment about Biora. I responded to like 80 comments or something today. Um, and yeah, I was just mentioning that that's a biopharmaceutical, biotech companies can be fairly risky. So good to, consider that. Here looking at the daily chart, excuse me. I might switch over to the weekly. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't have too much history. And one thing that was kind of mentioned in, I believe it was in Colin's video. I'm not too used to trading such new stocks, but an important level is getting back to above the IPO or whatever direct listing price that they had. So this is around $10. So that's going to be an important level to hold. Um, and then let's see. I feel like over here where you got those, like 3 wicks up, that might be a tough level. 815, a little less than 2x from current price. And then also, maybe looking at some other levels like on the lower side. So this was support. And so that might end up being resistance on the way up since there was that consolidation there, and also, good amount of trading in this range. As you can see there, it didn't just zip down. It, traded there at least 3 days kind of overlapping in this range. And so that's like 575 up to 815. Look at that. 577 was the high over last week. That was the high on Friday. So, not too surprised seeing it get rejected from there. Did put in a big wick to the top side. Opened at, let's see, 482 and then closed lower at 429. While it did go up 0.7% relative to Thursday's close, from open to close, price came down about almost 11%. So yeah, I mean, what I could see, I think what would be good is if it consolidated over here, maybe not that many days because over here just consolidated for a few days before going higher. But yeah, I think it'd be good to see it consolidate and then maybe it could continue higher. But with this big wick to the upside, closing red, closing effectively at that close from Thursday, but lower than the previous high, this could be pulling back some. So yeah, and then I guess where might it be pulling back to if it does pull back? So 429, let's see, what's this level here? That's, kind of similar to where we're currently at. 442, what's over here? 385. Let's just say, right around here, it's approximate double top, right around 438, give or take. And then a little bit lower, got kind of another double top over here, 383. And so, yeah, maybe it pulls back to 380, find that as support before continuing higher, or if it starts to break lower. Let's see, where are some gaps? So there's a gap here. The close was 215. And yeah, so that, could be a level it's pulling back to 215. That is a 50% reduction from current price. Or actually, current price after hours, it came down almost 9%. So 391, that's pretty close to this level that I have here. If I switch over to the 4-hour time frame, yeah, it's pulled back to 383, but then just closed the after hours session a little bit higher. So maybe that's a pullback, corresponds with the wicks over here. And got to go back too far in time. Let's see, just switching over to the daily. Yeah, so it's like the one wick here, another wick kind of touched it. And yeah, kind of like a double top over here. So maybe that's, yeah, let's see, the 52-week low is 61.21 cents, which I imagine is this low. It says 61.2 cents. And so from that, maybe I'll just draw a Fibonacci retracement going up to the top here. And maybe I'll color that light blue so it stands out a little bit. Let's see, 50% retracement is around 320, 618 is around 260, and that gets into, this kind of gap fill territory, which would be coming down to, again, 215. 786 is around 172, and that also corresponds nicely with the tops over here, and the 618 corresponds with the top over here. So, yeah, I mean, I guess I'd like to see it hold 383, start getting closes below that, and then I think 319, 260, and 215 filling that gap to the downside possible. But let's see, maybe I just remove the drawings for a second. Maybe I switch this over to the weekly. Just trying to think, like, maybe this could be like, maybe here's an inverse, and this is just throwing it out there, but left inverse shoulder head getting the lower low over here, and this is like a fake out break of that. And so maybe it could be coming back down to, the levels over, not necessarily down to here, but maybe that 786. And then that could potentially be the right shoulder, the right inverse shoulder. And that would still be bullish, but it just need, let's see, what was the time frame that this left shoulder was formed. That was formed over the course of about a year, because this is on the weekly time frame. So it's quite possible it's bumping this resistance here, pulling back, and maybe it could be pulling back over the course of the year. But yeah, so I mean, I'd really look for it to be closing above these levels. If it gets like a close below 383, maybe that's a fake out, gets multiple, and then I think these ones to the lower, to the downside. And really just looking at these lines, I don't really see any substantial support that it would be coming into, which was prior resistance, until, we get to some of these levels. So one would be 383. We get the wicks here, maybe coming even lower, like 360. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily worry about 383 because that's an arbitrary line that I drew. But starting to close lower than this close, maybe that's a better level to consider. So the close on the 27th of December was 360. So yeah, close below 360. I would then think it's probably coming lower. The, let's see, 50% at 320. I don't see anything else that would be acting as support, so I feel like that's kind of a negligible level. Coming down to the 618 at around 260, got the top over here. That could be support, but that could also be an approximate level. Maybe it does wick down, fills this gap at 215, but then maybe closes above 260 or something. But that's where I'd start to see, more substantial support, more prior consolidation. And then, kind of worst case scenario is a 786 around 172. Definitely getting into, a lot of price action over here and then this support here. So I think that's kind of like worst case scenario to the downside, but worst case scenario is it could go very low. So good to consider that. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful. I'm just going to add this to the DGen Ed list. And then I'll move on to the next one. And so since I don't have a ton, Mr. Bagel Show commented first, but requested second. So I'll go over UMC next. This is United Microelectric. Let's see. So I'm just going to read the profile. United Microelectronics Corporation is a global semiconductor foundry. The company provides integrated circuit, or IC, production for applications spanning every sector of the electronics industry. The company operates through two segments. The wafer fabrication segment is mainly engaged in the manufacture of chips to the design specifications of its customers by using its own processes and techniques. That makes me feel like a little bit concerned because it's like so, that like they don't have a thing that they do specifically, that they do it, customized, but maybe counter to that concern is that they do have customers. And I was just thinking, well, if they're a semiconductor company, they probably have to have a pretty good size market cap, 16.5 billion. I'm not really sure if that's big for a semiconductor company, but it's not in the millions, so I feel more confident in that. It's a pretty big market cap. And then let's see, let's continue reading. Uh, the new business segment is engaged in the research, development, manufacture, and provision of solar energy. The company is engaged in the maintenance of a customer base across various industries, including communication, consumer electronics, computer, it's kind of weird, computer, memory, new generation light emitting diodes or LEDs, and others, while focusing on manufacturing for applications including networking, telecommunications, internet, multimedia, personal computers or PCs, and graphics. I'm kind of surprised, I don't know who writes this up. Integrated circuit, I would not know that it's abbreviated as IC. LED, I feel like that's got to be in the dictionary at this point. I don't think we needed to be told that it's light emitting diodes. We already knew that. It's an LED. And then also personal computer, PC, kind of weird. But, I don't know who wrote this. And let's see. You see profile, key executives. Profile. I guess I was curious where they're located, but I imagine they're an American company. And CRNC, Rowdy Ray, I'll add it to the list. I'm just going to finish going over UMC first. And Cinematic Marvel Universe, MCU. It's a little different. Let's see. Yeah, so let's just look at the chart, take a step back, maybe look at this on the weekly. And I'm not sure if this is a, let's see. And maybe I want to add this to the semiconductor list as well as, I should add the DGen Ed list. Because maybe I want to see how this is performing relative to the others. But yeah, this is tough. This is a weekly. Let's see, look at this on the daily. Kind of a double bottom here. 636, I think we did go lower than that, which could be a good sign. Did just very briefly, I guess over 2 days, go lower than that. So that does seem like there's a little bit of weakness there. So maybe I'm just going to switch over to the semiconductor list. Just see like, how does this compare to NVIDIA? Looks pretty different compared to NVIDIA. So this is UMC. Yeah. Things I kind of don't like about this is higher high. And then what do we see in the RSI? So like over, it's kind of a double top there. Around here, RSI is, I mean, it's right around 70, 68 or so. Over here, it's lower. And then with the high over here, yeah, RSI is lower. So this is like 63. So if I just line it up exactly with that day, the RSI is like 63.49. But if I give it the benefit of the doubt, move it a couple days earlier, that's 64.93. But then if I go over to, yeah, where the highs were over here. Yeah, so this is, higher highs. Just this trend of higher highs. I don't know where I want to draw this from exactly. But yeah, so that seems like, it's been getting rejected there. And looking at the RSI, maybe something on the weekly. It's like clearly getting higher highs here, whereas RSI, give it the benefit of the doubt, it's been like the highs have been flat. They haven't even been getting into the above 70, but this is on the weekly time scale. But that makes me think that this is kind of weak, as it does, let's see, go higher. It does get, so it's getting more volume here as it's going up. Then volume just kind of is flat for a while as it's consolidating. Get push higher, more volume, but ultimately getting like rejected from this trend line and then starts to come down. So I feel like this actually doesn't look so great. And so let's see, what are some SMCI? They're one that's had some trouble, right? Their market cap is 19.5 billion. This is 16.46. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel I would be reluctant with this because I feel like Nvidia is, I got all this crap on it. I had been kind of, bearish on semiconductors over the course of the year of 2024, but not like having too big of a position. I'm not sure if I ended up making money in total or if I ended up losing money in total with SOXS. But yeah, then I just kind of realized that, if something's trading below an uptrending level of resistance, it can keep going higher. And I feel like just with how 2025 is looking, I think that stuff like this is going to keep going higher. So, but yeah, this is put in, higher highs over here. What's UMC look like? This, yeah, I mean, it diverges a lot. Let's look at AMD. This looks like it's broken down, but this is, yeah, it's like swept the lows over here. Colin, in his video that I shared, I think he goes over AMD in that as well as NVIDIA. And I think that he was thinking that, yeah, I mean, this is just like sweeping the lows here, and then it can take off. I'm not sure what level you have. Maybe a trend line this way. Maybe something like this, and there's like a fake out break, rejection. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, I mean, I feel like for me, this just seems a little speculative. And with the higher highs here and this big, let's see how much it pulled back from the high. Came down like 30%. So yeah, I know. Well, I guess, I don't know what this is going to do. No idea. But I would think that 636 is an important level because that was the low over here. And it did, kind of fake out break below that level. So if somebody had a stop loss there or something, they got pushed out of their position. And then they're probably like, okay, well, I'll buy back lower, like maybe around 574. But if that's respected, if we don't go back below 636, then the bottom could be in. But if it starts to close below 636, I think, what's the 52-week low? 631, so this is more than a year ago. Yeah, 2022. So yeah, I mean, it's possible if it's breaking below this, it could be coming down to like around $5 or so. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that's helpful. And just follow up on that from Mr. Bagel Show. They just bought Intel's equipment. Okay, so she's a nice size market cap, carries a good dividend too. Nice. Also, Penn is a look. Yeah, I'm not sure if you requested that in a comment. Somebody mentioned it. And for the most part, for requests that I get in comments, I probably won't be able to make videos on them or anything, and I probably will forget during streams. But if you guys are able to join or at least drop the request in the chat before the stream starts, that's fine. I can go over it then. But I'm also going to add CRNC, which is Cerence stock. So I'll add that. But I'm also going to go back to Saul's other request, which was APLD. Oh, and actually, crap. I did not want to add Penn here because I want to add it to the request list. I'm actually going to remove it from semis. And then I will go over to the request list and I'll look at APLD, Applied Digital. Yeah, I've done a lot. This is, yeah, I try to not do so many Fibonacci retracements. I got just so much there. And so rather, because, some of these lines are probably useful, I'm just going to try to delete them. Not all at once, but yeah, I clearly did way too many retracements. Yeah, so there's something that might be useful. So it looks like, yeah, there's this gap here, solid line though, so it got filled on the way up. And then, once that's filled, kind of testing this uptrend, I see, right over here, this date would be like the end of March. It looks like March 24th, where we see the intersection of that gap that has since been filled right around 750, that intersecting with this uptrend. But, it has pulled back to 750 and bounced, gone up almost 17% on Friday. But if I just zoom in here, I can draw, let's see, based on the closes, draw this little channel here. And so while it's a pretty nice move, it doesn't necessarily look like it's broken out. Maybe, if you draw like a trend line like this, that looks pretty good, but it might have a pullback and a retest. And with that retest, it also be kind of, coming back to this, all this consolidation here. So that could definitely be acting as support. So I could see it pulling back to, I would think like 811, maybe that's the bottom line. Let's see, what was the high on the 2nd? So on Thursday, the high was 810. So yeah, right around 810, I could see that as a kind of a biggest pullback. But maybe it would be finding support a little bit higher than that, maybe up to like 850. And then so I'd want to see how it responds to that. But yeah, this is, doesn't look like it's a breakout necessarily from this kind of trend that it's been in. But from drawing this trend line, that's like a falling wedge effectively. And that did break out, but it may not be sustained. It's possible there's a big pullback tomorrow. So I'd look for, multiple closes above this. Once there are multiple closes above it, still there could be a retest of this downtrend, maybe coming down to $8 because this is a downtrend. So if it takes some time consolidating up here, that's good. That makes it look strong, like it's planting a flag up here. And if it does pull back from that, that would just suggest that, it's kind of anchored up there. And then as time goes on, this downtrend, $8 is right where the cursor is. Maybe it pulls back to that, and that could be a nice dip buying opportunity. If it does look like it's holding that, then could bounce higher. And something that we could do with this is maybe do, oh, actually, this is interesting because it's got this nice little, I don't know, because it's got all these little ups and downs, but maybe there's something. I was just going to draw a doodle, but I might actually, let's see, I don't want to stay in drawing mode. I'm not sure if I want to stay in drawing mode, but let's see. I was thinking of the drawing tool, but no, I don't want to do that. So let's see, what am I thinking? Maybe drawing a neckline, like this is an inverse head and shoulders, maybe with like a double head. I actually saw, I don't know if it was on X or on YouTube, but it was like Siamese twins. I think it was probably on X because it was like a meme of like Siamese twins. It was like two women, like two heads, same body. And so it was like, had to pay for two educations, but only get paid for one job. And that's kind of what this reminds me of. I don't know if that's morbid or inappropriate, that analogy that I just used. Sorry if it is. But yeah, maybe there's a left shoulder here and then two heads right here because we don't get up to the neckline until over here. And then there's kind of a right shoulder here, maybe a double shoulder. It's kind of ugly. But then it's a pullback, kind of a retest. And so I'm just going to draw, let's see, I'll just do it as a trend line. It's just going to be casual. It's casual Sunday. Yeah, this actually, so make that line a bit thicker, make it purple for whatever reason. And so, yeah, I mean, this is, left shoulder here, double head here, coming up to that neckline. It's kind of a double head with a little hump right here, coming up to that neckline, forming the right inverse shoulder, but then getting, kind of a fake out break above and then pull back. So I'd really like to see 750 holding as support, which it did bounce from. So hopefully it doesn't go any lower than that. But, with the way that I drew this, maybe this is the left shoulder and maybe this is just a really lumpy head. And this up there is, actually, how do I want to do this? Maybe that's a pivot point. Yeah, so kind of like that. And so from this, I could see it going from here, to kind of just to, I'll just draw the whole thing. There's a left shoulder. Here's a lumpy head. It's like a Bart Simpson head, lots of spiky hair. And then this is a right shoulder. Coming back up to there. And let's see, I'm going to make that line thicker. And so maybe that's possible. And from that, you could get a measured move. I'm going to take a step back to do this. Go from the low over here up straight up to the neckline, and then the halfway point is, right here where it intersects with that line. And so the measured move will be up to around $16. But of course it has not formed this right shoulder, but I could see something like this happening. So maybe it hangs out around 750 for a while before going up. In this intersection, the right shoulder can be smaller. It doesn't have to be as wide as the one over here. But just, approximately how I drew this, the intersection, the date over here is the beginning of May. So it could spend 5 months coming back $1.50 lower to around 750 and, consolidating there before then going up in May. So that's something I guess cautious of, that it might be hanging out lower and pulling back. But yeah, I'd look for 750 to hold as support. And generally, I think that looks, like it has a lot of potential long term. Short term, I think that, the move kind of happened. So maybe 5 months from now it's over here. So I guess, what I might do, I'm just going to put an alert here at, let's see, I guess I got other alerts here. I might have it 11. Let's see where that's at. And so, yeah, that's kind of like a retest to the highs there. So we'll see if that happens. So that's what I'd be looking for. But, and I guess, maybe there should be a level to the downside. I guess I will put an alert. I shouldn't have deleted those below alerts that I had. But yeah, I'm just going to put one at 750. And if it gets down to that level, like I'm probably not going to make a video on it or anything like that. If it does come down to 750, maybe I will if I feel pretty compelled by it. But I feel like I need to be, more, enthused about the videos that I make. And if I'm just making one because, I got an alert, I'll make a video trying to get views. I think like the kind of back and forth more so with the Ticker Request Live is a little more productive, constructive than just putting out a video. If this level's hit, but yeah, I just kind of keep an eye on 750 to see how it holds. If it breaks lower, maybe it comes down to 5. and then this becomes like invalidated. But I feel like 750 will probably be like a good dip buying level. So yeah, and they're about a $2 billion market cap after this pullback and stuff. So they're not a small company. So yeah, nice. So hopefully that's helpful. And so I'm just gonna catch up on the comments and let's see. So Mr. Bagel Show commented at Taiwan. So I assume that's in reference to UMC. And they just, oh yeah. So okay. And let's see. Okay, so Mr. Bagel Show also requested Penn, but I do have CRNC from Rowdy Ray, so I'll have to check that out before going over Penn. And then Chess Dad, hey, what's up? How's it going? And yeah, I have a bad habit of opening beverages and not drinking them because I talk too much. So cheers, Chess Dad. Cheers to all of you guys if you missed the first cheers. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Hopefully you're looking to a nice start to the week. I don't know how the weather is where you guys are, but it's bitter cold where I'm at, so kind of bummed about that. But I'm excited about the week. Maybe this is going to be disappointing to you guys, but I'm going to get a haircut tomorrow. I'm really excited about that. Kind of had the experiment of growing the hair out, growing the mustache out over the course of 2024. And I'm excited. I feel like it's been an interesting experiment, but my hair is always tangled. I have somewhat like, depending on how long it is, I kind of like flatten it a little bit, but I have somewhat curly hair and I just have like so many tangles in my hair constantly. I hate it. So I'm really looking forward to getting a cut tomorrow and not working the next couple days. So that'll be nice. But anyways, cheers, guys. And hopefully you guys aren't disappointed, let down. I don't have the mustache anymore, but I don't know if you guys have ever had mustaches. I'm just so surprised getting mustache hairs in my mouth, have random hairs poking me in my nostrils all the time. And, I also just felt like, I think it suited me well, but I just felt less confident for whatever reason. I feel like this is what I'm more used to. And then Chess Dad, sorry, my big tangent there. Tesla, happy to look at it. Let's see, and I would recommend, I did post it on the channel, and I can actually show you that in case you're not familiar with it. But I did, let's see, I did post a video that Colin Gladman posted, and he was contemplating doing the video and was not going to. I think just because a lot of people have been giving him a really tough time. And like, to be honest, I've gotten a fair amount of like just really bad sentiment, negativity and stuff. And so I get where he was coming from, but yeah, I posted this. He goes over Tesla fairly extensively, kind of breaks down his thesis with them. And he's just like a huge Tesla bull. Also, I'd recommend, I believe it's Dan Ives, who's like, has some, I don't know what his title is with Webush. But they, maybe I'm mispronouncing that, but they invest in Tesla and tech, and very bullish on Tesla and just tech in general. And so, I think that he's a great resource for Tesla because he's always swinging calls, swinging puts. He's overall very long Tesla, but I think it's kind of like a really good idea of how to trade rather than, like I kind of, have like a portfolio of things I try to focus on, also taking requests and, going over other stuff people are interested in. But he, kind of hyper focuses, or not necessarily hyper focuses, but he's always focusing on Tesla to some extent. And so he really just like understands like the way that the chart, the Tesla stock trades. And, while being long term, if, it gets to resistance, he'll go short with puts. And, he posts when he makes money. He posts when he loses money. I follow him on X. So I'd recommend following him there as well as following or checking out this video at least. And the way you get to that, sorry if I didn't explain it well, but, just go into the YouTube channel. Usually you're over at home. And, if you just go over to the tab for community, and that's where I just share videos that I think are good. This person was commenting a bunch on X, and, encouraged me to watch the video. I, in all honesty, didn't watch the whole video. It's kind of long, 30 minutes, but he goes over a lot of robotic stock. Seems like he does really good analysis. So if you're interested in that stuff, I think it's good. But yeah, then I just post other fun stuff here. Happy New Year. Looking forward to 2025. And I've been having fun with Grok. So that's kind of like a little image of Ed, being in the city. I prompted it with Chicago in the background. So, yeah. But anyways, I am going to switch back to the chart. Sorry for that tangent. And before I go over Tesla, though, I need to go over CRNC. Sorry, Rowdy Ray, for keeping you waiting. And then I also have to go over Penn as well. But CRNC, I thought I added it up. Oh, I didn't add it over here. I added it to the semiconductor list. So CRNC. Let's look at them. And actually, I'm just going to make sure I removed it from... Oh, yep, I deleted it. I'm going to delete it from there. And, oops. You can see all my holdings. It's pretty much just the stuff I make videos about for the most part. Nothing too exciting. But what am I looking at? CRNC, okay. 20, almost 20, 140, 150% in a day. So for me, I say this whenever there's a stock that goes up really big like this. This is not something I would trade. This is not something I'm well versed in, because for me, if I was in this trade, let's say down here, I probably would have taken profits here, unless I had a good understanding of the company and really want to hold it long term. But I'd probably be trimming here at least, because this has to be a 100% move or something, about 100% move. Yeah, it looks like it formed a nice bull flag there, broke out to the upside massively, being up 150% on the day on Friday with a gap up. Excuse me. It does look like it's kind of, getting into what I would think is around resistance with, kind of this pivot high here. Let's see, horizontal. So right around, just being approximate there, around 21. But yeah, at this point, in my view, the way, I just see this as, maybe it runs, a little bit more, but I feel like if it's already run 150%, it's not likely to run another 150%. Especially, yeah, because this is just, it's not like it's a sustainable gradual move up. This is like about 100% move. This, consolidation, that was really good. And so if you do get this, kind of consolidation, then it's like you don't have to buy right now. It's kind of like, I don't know, I guess I was thinking like this is like a falling knife, but inverse, but that would then imply that this is just going to continue to go higher. But yeah, I don't feel like this is necessarily sustainable at this point. And, the possibility of another 150% move or 100% move, whatever it is, I think that'd be more likely as time passes and if it consolidates like it did over here. But after this big move, I think it's much more likely to, pull back. Let's see, what's pulling back 50%? That's, going to be down to here. So it's not even getting to a gap fill, but if you put in $100 here, it's then worth, $50. And yeah, so I think this one's risky at this point. And I think that, 21, if one is in the green, I would want to trim a little bit, or I'd say a lot. Getting 100% swing in a day, 150% swing in a day is excellent, especially if bought down here. Because from the lows here, what did I say, like 620%, it needs to cool off a little bit in my view. And so I feel like this is probably going to pull back. Maybe it gets up to 21, but then I think it'd get rejected based on that being the highs over here. But maybe that doesn't happen. I mean, maybe it already has if I look at the 4 hour. No, I mean, it's right around, 1989. And that was the high during market hours. But yeah, at this point, all this consolidation here, that's going to be tough for it to get above. And so I think it's more likely to have a pullback right now. But yeah, I'll read the profile just to get a better sense of the company. So Cerence Incorporated is a provider of artificial intelligence powered assistance for connected and autonomous vehicles. The company is engaged in selling software licenses and cloud-connected services. Its software platform is used to build virtual assistants, or might those be agents? I don't really know, that can communicate, find information, and take action across an expanded variety of categories. Its software platform has a hybrid architecture combining edge software components with cloud-connected components. Its edge software components are installed on a vehicle's head unit and can operate without access to external networks and information. Its cloud-connected components are comprised of a certain speech and natural language understanding, related technologies, AI-enabled personalization, and context-based response framework, and a content integration platform. It delivers its solutions on a white label basis, enabling its customers to deliver customized virtual assistants with branded personalities. And so, yeah, market cap less than $1 billion after this big move. I feel like it seems kind of small for what it's doing, but I mean that's pretty close to $1 billion. But yeah, I mean that's like, so let's see. When it was down here, it's 85% lower than it is now. So that's 15%. So the market cap when it was down here, I'm just gonna pull up my handy little calculator. Got some math on it there, which is actually kind of crazy. I don't know if they updated the calculator app, because I used to like shut the computer down and it wouldn't save what I had left in it. Now it's doing that, so that's kind of interesting. But anyways, 831 million. And so I'll just do this. So we have clear understanding that's 831 million. And so I'm just going to multiply that by 15%, because that would be the difference if it were to come down. And so the market cap, man, I wish this had commas. Maybe, yeah, I'm just going to, okay, so I'll do this in the, let's see, crap, I'm just screwing up. I'm screwing up left and right. 831 million times 15%. So that's 125 million when it's down here. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just think that after this big of a move, it's risky. So I would not look to, if I didn't have a position, risk was way too high up here. If I had a position, I'd heavily trim. And yeah, so I guess that's kind of my thoughts on that. So hopefully that's helpful. And I'm going to add this to the DGen Ed list. And sorry if I'm like squinting and stuff, or I'm like talking slow, but my eyes are tired and dry. I've been in fluorescent lighting all day, and I've been, focusing on a lot of stuff with the channel, and then also just listening to podcasts and stuff like that. So I'm pretty tired. But I did very little work for my job today. Very kind of stupid scenario, but I get paid, so it's all right. Okay, so Mr. Bagel Show has Penn, so I'll go over that, and then I'll go over Tesla. Sorry, Chess Dad, to keep you waiting. Just trying to go through this stuff, and I'm going a little slow tonight. So this, I think this looks pretty good, because I'm just going to do a trend line, just like kind of casual line coming down. Yeah, and this goes even further back, really. Yeah, so maybe I have to do this on the weekly so we get that. All these light purple lines, I drew these a long time ago. And yeah, so this is a lineup here. Maybe that's something to note. But yeah, I mean, with this trend line, I'm just going to do it from like, just try to be a little bit tighter. So there are going to be some wicks above. But yeah, I mean, you could even argue that the breakout was over here, breakout retest, that looks really good to me. In all honesty, yeah. Mr. Bagel Show, I don't know if you were saying that this could 10x. Somebody in the comments said this could 10x. I don't know if this could 10x, but I think that this looks good. This is weekly, so things take a while. But yeah, there's just this downtrend that has just been, massive resistance, got kind of a fake out break above it here, or maybe I just drew the line wonky. I just kind of drew the line this way, so it looks like, this was a breakout, and then what was this date? That was, I don't know if you guys are able to respond fast enough to this, but, I don't know if you could guess. I guess you see it on the screen there. This is the weekly, but this dip, that was August 5th, the low there. So that's pretty cool that it came into that level as support. Again, it's just kind of an approximate line. But on that massive panic, markets gapping down, all this stuff, Penn pulled into this downtrend and did not break lower than it. It bounced, and then it's just been going higher since then, or consolidating since then. So yeah, I guess it's been putting in higher lows. If I do it like this, there's that. So maybe this is not so great. So that's something to consider, but it still is putting in higher lows like that. So I guess the level that really stands out to me, what would negate these higher lows, and actually I'm just going to clean these up a little bit because maybe I can extend them further back in time to the low over here. So yeah, this looks a little concerning because, this is just a wick down, and it was a panic day, so it's kind of approximate. No closes below this level. This one's closed right at it. And so then we get one close below here, fake out, bounces, but that's a warning. And then here, another fake out breakdown, but then it gets rejected, breaks under, and then rejected here. So I actually think that this looks like we need to be seeing some closes, not necessarily above the high from Thursday, which was a high of 2015, but, really just right around $20. Basically where those two candles overlap. So the high of, that would be, I guess, Tuesday, the 31st. The high was 1988, where that's marked. I think that's a level that we need to get back above, close above, and then need to get back above this uptrend, which would be getting up to, above $20 a share, $20.50, something like that, to be reclaiming that uptrend. But yeah, I think that looks not so great. So we need to reclaim that to the upside. And so to the downside, the levels that we don't want to be closing below, this one right here, this is higher lows, and this is higher than this low. So I'd say the low from this day, $17 basically, don't want to be going down to 17. The next one over here, I don't know if that's going to be lined up just right, 16.28. That's another level. Don't want to be going lower than that, because if we do go lower than that, then we're starting to put in lower lows. We have put in, higher highs here. So that's, yeah, maybe. Oh no. It's, there's kind of a, open above, but then close below. I think it's fine. Yeah, this looks actually like it's a rising wedge, like different than falling wedge. So yeah, this to me, I think it really needs to reclaim 20 and a half, $20.50 with some strength to reclaim this uptrend, but it looks like it's lost that. But, so that could be like shorter term. Where could this be going if I do a Fibonacci retracement? Do that light blue. It did pull back to the 15%, around 18, so that could be nice. And then the 618 is around 1690, corresponding with the low over here. So that's a level that I'd look for it to really not be testing. But then if it does, then I'd look for it to be holding above the low here of like 1628. But if that doesn't happen, then 1540. But I think that really want to be paying attention to these lows, don't want to be putting in lower lows. And, that already has started to kind of roll over here, but it could reclaim this. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully that's helpful. But, so that's like shorter term. I feel like this is a shorter term breakdown. And so just being arbitrary, this is like April over here where the cursor is. Maybe it pulls back, dip buying opportunities. When it does pull back into April, maybe it starts to get moving up. And then these trend lines kind of consolidate over here, or they converge over here, I should say. And so that would be like a very important level around 23, 24. And so that's kind of like shorter term, so on the time frame of months. But then if I adjust this to the weekly, so we can see this downtrend, this goes back to the end of 2021, this downtrend. So that's like a multi-year level that we've broken out from. And so I think that's good. Long-term, bigger picture, but short-term, I think that there's probably going to be some dip buying opportunities. Like I said, around 17 maybe, or if wanting this to go up right now, hopefully 18 holds and it reclaims like 2050. But if that doesn't happen, which I suspect it won't, I'd say it's probably coming down to 17 at least. But then a year or two from now, it could be going from here up to, this trend line. This would be like in March of 2026, being arbitrary, but just, drawing it from there to that trend line. That looks like it's a 350% move to the upside. I would say it's probably going to find some resistance around here, getting that double bottom there. And that'd be around 2650. So I don't think it's going to be a straight line up if it does go up. And I think that in the near term, it's probably going to come down some more because it's broken this smaller structure, unless it can reclaim 2050. So hopefully that's helpful. I see some more comments there. I'll check those in a second. I'm just going to do this. And so, yeah, I've got to go over Tesla. And hey, Vaz, what's up? And it's Andy, by the way. But it's all good either way. I can't sleep, so might stick around for a bit. Sounds good. Vaz, and by the way, my eyes are kind of closing, so I may not be around for that much longer. Been about an hour for the stream, but happy to take a request. I'm upset to see you without the cool mustache. Yeah, sorry, I needed to shave it. I had mentioned this earlier. I get like mustache hairs in my mouth, which are like, it's like you think of eyebrow hair or like an eyelash or something, or maybe hair from your head. Mustache hairs are like super prickly. They're like wires. And so I hated that. Sometimes they'd be going up and like would poke into my nose. Hated that. And generally, I think it just made me look a lot older. I'm actually getting a haircut tomorrow. So this was kind of an experiment. I've been starting over the past few years, but my hair is kind of a light color, so you can't really tell. Been starting to get grays. And so it's like, well, I've never had my hair long enough to have a ponytail. I thought I'd try it out over the course of the year, and I don't like it. Some aspects of it I like. Like I feel like I enjoy the idea of having long hair, but the reality of it is it's just a pain in the ass. So yeah, I'm going to get my hair cut tomorrow. But I am glad that I tried out growing out the hair before I have too many gray hairs. And with the shaving the mustache, looking forward to the haircut. I just feel over the past year, I felt much older because of the way that I looked. I also felt a little bit less confident. I felt like ladies were probably not as interested. And now I feel so much more confident, so much more happy. So I'm excited about it. But I do think it was a good look, at least for the videos. But for me in my personal life, I needed a break. I had it in my head. It was on. Yeah, no problem, Vaz. I had noticed that before, and it's like, well, I don't care because a lot of people call me Ed, and totally fine. But it's like, well, maybe you want to know, but yeah, it's all good. Um, yeah, because I mean, really, it's like we're all just going by our handles and stuff. It's all pretty casual, and I don't. Partly because I don't want people in my, I don't know, real world circle to really necessarily know about this channel. People can be just very judgmental. I used to, work at universities and academia, and I think that they would judge me very much for the stuff that I do, and I don't care for it. So I actually I kept my face off of all the thumbnails until I started doing the options ones, and yeah, that's kind of something that I've tried to keep on the DL just because wanting to have that privacy for myself and stuff. So I'm not too vocal about my name, so it's no big deal. But yeah, if you do have a request, yeah, the mustache was cool. Anyways, yeah, and also too, it's quite possible maybe I meet a lady who, was like, oh, you had a mustache, you look handsome in it, you should grow it back, and then maybe I'd do it for her. But haven't met a lady, and yeah, I'm just and another thing about it too is I don't do clean shave. I always just have like stubble, and I do that at most twice a week, and I just zip 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 done. But then with the mustache, it's like, okay, I gotta trim all of this, leave this, but first I'm initially doing that so it's longer, and then I have to like trim under it and kind of select the random ones that go out. So it's like normally shaving, which I hate doing, would take me like 10 minutes at most, 5 minutes, let's say. But then with the mustache, it's like a 15-minute procedure. And so, yeah, I needed a break at least. Maybe it'll come back, but it's a new year, so got to start something new. But yeah, I'm a little concerned people will be leaving the channel because like, oh, the mustache guy, he's not there anymore. But yeah, it's still me, just no mustache. And actually, a year ago, it was like kind of when I started growing the mustache. But yeah, for a while, I like when the channel wasn't really that popular, it was just starting out in like October of 2023. I do all sorts of experiments with facial hair, and yeah, I ended up just trying out the mustache for a while. And also part of the reason why I wanted to do the mustache, I got a bunch of white here, for whatever reason. And so it's like, well, I don't want to have a beard because it makes me feel really old with all of that white. But the mustache stayed pretty orange, which, maybe that's a little bit odd to be an orange mustache, but matches my hair enough. So, but anyways, enough rambling with that. I'm going to make sure, I don't know if I already checked this. Yep, on the DGen Ed list. And then, so yeah, I'll go over Tesla for chest ads. Sorry again to keep you waiting. But so for this, I again would, if you're interested in Tesla, I 100% recommend, again, not financial advice or anything like that, but as far as like just staying in tune with the Tesla stock, the chart, Colin Gladman does great analysis of it. He's always involved with swings of it, whether to the upside or the downside, and he shares whenever he loses, he shares when he wins, and he's made, it's like, he'll post like hundreds of thousands of dollars down on Tesla. And then a week later, he recently posted that he had, like $1 million swing on it from trading options. But then like a week after that, he's back down, like a few 100,000 or something. But it's always like back and forth, but he nets wins. But yeah, it's like, that's not really like the way that I trade, but I still kind of have my training wheels on. But yeah, anyways, in the video, what he was talking about is, he saw, and this is something that is like above my level of analysis, but, with this pullback here, he saw it look like it was potentially holding on Thursday. And that was like, let's see, the close here on December 5th was at 369.49. The low the following day was 370.80. So there was a gap here. And so what stood out to him, And actually, maybe I should draw this up here. So that's 369.49. I believe that's the same number I read. The close, 369.49. So I'm just going to do dashed line, make it a little bit thicker, and make it blue so we know that's a gap that has not yet been filled. And so what stood out to him, which is a good lesson for me in the video that he went over, and he didn't break it down with a line there or anything, he just like kind of hovered over it and mentioned it. But there's a gap here, and on Thursday, excuse me, on, I'm going to drink beer, I should drink some water. Excuse me. So, on Thursday when it's coming down here, it looks like it's putting in a little bit of a wick to the downside, might be finding some support there. And that was bouncing, having not filled this gap. And so, I would view that previously. I'm kind of learning the significance of gaps, and that a lot of times they're kind of just like set out there as like a lure or bait to get people to think, hey, there's a gap at 369.40. That's going to get filled. That's where I'm going to have a limit buy at. But then it gets very close to it, just like $1 away, and then it goes higher. And those people get left behind. Then when it starts making new all-time highs, those people recognize that they're getting left behind, and then they FOMO in up here, sends it even higher. I think that's just a really interesting, like kind of psychological aspect of thinking about gaps. Because they're not too hard to find on the chart. And then, kind of a novice trader can, really focus on them. Earlier on in the channel, I did a lot. I was always pointing out gaps. I got left behind tons of times. SoFi is one of those that I got left behind because I was waiting for a kind of a secondary gap to the downside. But the primary gap was filled. That secondary one left behind, But anyways, there's also another gap down here. So it could be coming lower to around 345. But, Colin saw this as, hey, it didn't fill that gap. And since it's not even getting down to there, there's enough buyers holding it up here at like 370, 380 that, it might go higher. And so it did. And this red line, 414.50, that's previous all-time highs, I believe, going back to maybe 2021. I'm not sure when this was, 2023, 2021, makes sense. And so that I think is probably going to be a notable level to get above. Not only was it resistance in the past in 2021, when we hit this new all-time high, we came down, bounced on that level, became support. So resistance, once broken through, became support, bounced but not higher, breaks lower, and so now that support is going to be resistance. And so I think, excuse me, it'd be really good. In the after hours, it looks like it's up 413. I know it's got overnight trading, so I don't know what it is exactly. I can check the Robinhood app on my phone to see what Tesla is in overnight trading. And maybe actually Webull has it, but it's just not showing up here. It says after. Let's see. I'm just pulling up. Tesla, the night trading. It looks like it's up 0.6%, so it's around, which is around 413. But I think it'd be really good if it, gapped up above 414.50 and then found that as support and then continued higher. But a level that I talked about, I believe in a stream perhaps, I'm not sure exactly when I did talk about it, but I just view 360 being the tops of this consolidation over here, that as being potential very nice support. So it could definitely be bouncing from there, but it didn't go that low. And so for me, like I am a shareholder, and by that I mean I have one share of Tesla. My average is 185. So from, this was probably August 5th, a day I'll never forget. Great dip buying opportunity. That's when I became a forever shareholder of Tesla. And so, it's like, well, I only have one share. It'd be nice to have more, but at the same time, if my average is 185, I don't want to be blowing my average up really high because I feel pretty confident price is never going to return to my average right now. But one thing that I could do, I was kind of thinking that, well, next time they do a split, which is probably when the stock price is above $1,000 a share, then I could buy one more share. Maybe they do a 1-for-4 reverse split, or sorry, split, not reverse split. 1-for-4 split, maybe 1-for-5. And, I could get one share there. Or, what I could do, can buy fractional shares. If it comes down to levels that stand out to me, I could get, a tenth or a quarter of a share, or 20% of a share, so like 1/5. Thinking that eventually there will be a split, and then I could, fill out, or that fraction of a share would eventually become a whole share. And that would also not be pushing my average up too high. And so for me, I recognize, well, maybe it is bottoming on Thursday and it's going to bounce. But at the same time, maybe it comes down to 360. So for me, I have this alert here at 360, because then, it's like, well, Tesla's back down to 360. And I feel like that could be support because it was pretty notable resistance here. Lots of consolidation below that level. So that will be acting as support. And so if price does come down to 360, maybe I'd want to get, in all honesty, maybe 1/10 of a share. So rather than costing $360, it'd cost me $36. And then I'd have a little bit more than one share. And then if it came lower, if it really started to break down, maybe came down to this purple trend line, or maybe the convergence with this light blue line, it's around 267, 269, have fun with it. Maybe it comes down to that. Maybe the high over here is support, but really, I feel like it'd probably come down lower, like to get into the more meat of this, where it's not just the very tippy top. There's a little bit of consolidation here, another top over here. That would be around 280. So maybe, if I, again, not exciting, if I were to get 1/10 of a share at 360, then it's like, okay, but then I'm not going to get another 1/10 of a share until it gets to 280. And then maybe I get another 1/10 at 270 or so. So that would not be raising my average too much, but I'd be able to take advantage of dips. So I kind of like that. So yeah, I feel like Tesla is, it's constantly talked about and compared to Ford and GM, legacy auto companies, which is just ridiculous, because Tesla's a technology company, very similar to how, Apple's not a computer company. They're a technology company. There's a possibility of Apple making an Apple car. And so, yeah, I think that, it's foolish to think about Tesla as an auto company. And, in all honesty, like, I work in a factory and my job's not very difficult. And actually, because of the holidays, I haven't been doing anything like the past couple months at my job. But when I do have work, I work in a lab. But when either the work that I do or those who work in the production line, a lot of that work could be replaced by not necessarily a robot, but a humanoid robot. Yeah. And so Optimus, I think that's pretty crazy. I think full self-driving, well, I have some doubts about it, some aspects of it. Like, I'd like to see summoning the vehicle when it's hailing out or downpouring out. I live in the Midwest. I've definitely gone to the grocery store, walked in, done some quick shopping. 5 minutes later, it's a downpour. And so it'd be nice. That would be the scenario I would want to summon my vehicle, not when it's a beautiful sunny day out. So I wonder how well the Tesla does when there's low light, bad visibility, with obstructions such as rain or, fog. So from my understanding, it does perform well. But in this video that I did on Luminar, we don't just settle for one safety feature. We don't just have the lap seat belt. We got the I think it's the I don't know what it's called. I forget the name of it. I mentioned it in the video. But the cross strap seatbelt, we add to our safety. We didn't just say, oh, we've got safety belts, seat belts. We don't need them anymore because we now have airbags. No, we layer up that safety. And so I think that we're going to layer up on that safety regarding autonomous driving, because I think the idea is to not have the hands-free experience, or to, I think that, I don't know if this is coined by Austin Russell, the CEO of Luminar. But we want to have the uncrashable car, not the one that you can take your hands off the wheel and it should more or less, drive as well as a human being. We want one that's a matter of fact. It's like you can't crash it. It's uh, you know, nearly impossible to crash, the uncrashable car. And so I don't think that's going to be done with just, I don't know why I'm going on this tangent, but with just cameras. I think that there are going to be other aspects to it. Uh, so, I think that there's a lot of potential still with Tesla in that area. But also, I think that there might be some bumps in the road. But generally, I think that Tesla is just going to be doing amazing things. And I feel like Apple's kind of in like a little bit of a stupor. I haven't been as impressed. We used to get so excited about the Apple reveals or whatever. Now it's just like, oh, okay, there's a fifth camera on the phone, or what? Like, there's nothing innovative about it. It's just expanding upon prior innovations. Whereas Tesla is constantly bringing new things to the table. I think there's a lot of critique from the, is it We Robot? Where it's like, oh, well, the Optimuses were remotely controlled or something like that. And it's like, well, yeah, but the first time, just like 3 years ago or something, when they introduced Optimus, it was just somebody wearing an Optimus costume that was dancing. And so the fact that we've seen so much progress in that area, the amount of dexterity in the hands, because I think that's kind of a big thing with robots. You can have a humanoid robot, but being able to do the things that we do with our hands, I think is kind of, a real deal, game changer. And I feel like I think the Tesla engineers are really doing a good job with that. And so I just see that the amount of progress that they're doing, also the way that Elon's companies all kind of integrate with each other, like XAI with X and AI informing, like Optimus. I mean, I just think that there's so many like compounding factors that I think that Tesla is just like, and to be honest, this is one that I remember when I graduated college, or when I was in college, this was, I guess, around the financial crisis, and maybe 2010, somewhere around there. I remember there being a Tesla showroom, and they had the Roadster, and I was just thinking, like, there's no way that's going to take off, because I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, Who Killed the Electric Car? It's about the EV1, which was a GM electric vehicle that got canned because they realized it was going to take all the oil money. So it's like, I felt like there's no way Tesla could succeed because there's all of this suppression of that new technology. But at that time, I had a little bit of extra money, and I was like, well, maybe I'll invest it. And I was contemplating buying some Tesla shares. I wouldn't have held to this point, but maybe I would have been more engaged, learning more, and bought more later or something. But yeah, I mean, even just over, like, since the pandemic, Tesla is a stock I've always been aware of. But at the same time, was the highs following the pandemic the best time to be buying? Or like during the pandemic, this low over here, that was a good time to be buying for sure. But I wasn't in tune with the market until later. And so, yeah, I mean, I should have been buying more over here. I didn't. I recognized this level and bought, but I sold. And then I recognized that mistake, and then I bought over here, and now I'm never selling. So I think that this is just like if you buy the technical level, it can be a never sell the stock kind of stock. And so for Tesla, it depends on how you trade. I'm a pretty small fish, and so I got that one share at a beautiful technical level. Very proud of that. And so for me, if I was like in the FOMO position, I mean, I just like now to wait to add 1/10 of a share, which is a joke. I would wait until 360s tested, when this alert goes off. And then I would consider starting to add. And if it went lower, I would consider adding. And I'd be happy to grow my position as price dips. And if it did come down to my average, whatever that would be, if it's going to stay at 185 or it's going to go up to 230 or whatever it is, then I'd add more, getting my average down. So that's no big deal. It's a no-brainer for me. Yeah, it's, to me, that's not $185. It's not $410. It's one Tesla share. It's like, the saying of, what's one Bitcoin worth? It's still worth one Bitcoin. That doesn't change. What's one Tesla share worth? It's still worth one Tesla share, unless you're factoring in splits and stuff, and, not necessarily. But yeah, it's still a portion of the Tesla company. And so that doesn't change. And so, yeah, I'm going to get back to the comments. I think I had gone over like all of the tickers that were requested other than the ones that I had up there. And so I'm just going to follow up with these questions. Chestad saying, thanks, Andy. I'll definitely take a look at the other vids. Cool. Yeah. Colin Gladman. And he typically does, not typically, I should say, I'll pull it up on X. And it's also too, like, I'm a super small, like I say, I'm a small fish. I'm a little fry, whatever, all of that stuff. Oops. But, if I come over to X, I just search Colin, he posted some stuff. I guess he's been posting. This is pretty cool. I think this is just a super cool video. I'm not going to put the sound on, but just let's watch this. Like, that's just so cool. That reminds me of those like little finger decks, skateboards, doing that, but it's with a Cybertruck. That's insane. Gosh. Yeah, I think this one, it does, grinds there. And it does this little thing on its wheels. Yeah, because this is like, because all of the wheels kind of can be controlled differently. Like you see them spinning here, but they're not over here. Something, I don't really know. But it kind of seems like it's an AI video or something, but it's just like super badass. But yeah, anyways, he... love making a few posts to help weed out the trash in the sap. Always good cleansing. Okay, so yeah, down here, was going to make a video regardless heading into the week, but after reading some of the comments today and general vibe, I don't want to spend any time here. Good luck this week. And in all honesty, I've kind of felt like that kind of vibe the past week. And I think it's just, people are just angsty. But yeah, with this... I said, appreciate you, take care. And he liked it. It's always nice to get engagement from bigger accounts. But if I do go back here, he did end up posting the video. No pressure, no diamonds, haters, punching the air, whatever. So he went over all of these stocks. And pretty much he's bullish on all of them. He did have Apple on his list, but he I think forgot to go over it. But Apple's one that I think looks bearish. All these other ones look pretty bullish. And that's really just kind of like the general outlook. I just think like Apple's kind of screwed up. But what he tends to do on Fridays is January, so on the 3rd, he usually posts it with like a, let's see. Oh yeah. No Discord opening this week, but 1,000 likes if you want a video. So he tries to get 1,000 likes. This week he only got 743. And it's basically like if there's panic, if there's something crazy going on with the markets, he'll get 1,000 likes. But if not, then he won't. And just like the kind of stuff that he does is just very casual, going over charts. And he's got way more experience than me, trades with way more money than me. I'm like, in all honesty, embarrassed to talk about the amount of money I trade with because it's like really small. I mean, some of my positions are notable, but most of my stuff is pretty small. He trades like hundreds of thousands of dollars and he'll post his stuff. And so maybe that's a turnoff. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little more accessible because I don't have tons of money. But, he started out kind of like the same as me, the same as us, utilizing the resources that we have, going online, learning, reading books, going over chart analysis. And so I think that he's just a really great person to follow. And also, he's a no BS kind of guy. Um, you know, with me, I'm still fairly new at this. So there's a little bit of BS in that sense that I'm still learning. But with him, if he sees something that looks bearish, he's not going to bend. He's going to say it's bearish. Whereas I might try to, and also I feel like and this probably makes me not the best trader, I am an inherent optimist. I feel like I always try to be optimistic about things, but sometimes I cannot be so much. But anyways, I don't know why I'm rambling so much. But I'd recommend following him on X for routine engagement and ideally weekly videos that he puts out on Sundays that I think is just a great way to start the week. And one thing that he was talking about that, I had been aware of this, but so I'm in a tangent from Tesla. I hope that's all right. But, I had been aware of this. I think Gareth Soloway was probably talking about this. And I kind of recognized, I think Gareth Soloway does some great analysis. I'm actually going to pull this up in TradingView because that's how I had more recently gone over it. I was looking over Tesla most recently. But yeah, I'm just going to pull it up in TradingView. And let's see if I do SPX. This is loading. I had just drawn stuff on this. Man. Maybe it's because it's on the weekly. I guess it refreshed. I restarted my computer, so maybe that's why. But yeah, yeah, I gotta redraw this. It's in the video that I did on Grok. So I'd recommend oh, there we go. This is why, because I needed to switch over to the log scale. And so, yeah, if I switch over to the weekly and get this axis lined up, maybe I need to, I did it on the year time scale, which is the 12-month candle. So let's get this zoomed in. And so, yeah, this is kind of what I talked about, how there's this trend line that goes back to the highs of 1929, right before the Great Depression, as well as the highs of 2000, right before the dot-com bubble burst. And, that high, while not being at the trend line, was tested again in 2007, 2008, right before the financial crisis. And Gareth Soloway has been talking about how we're at this level, but it's maybe he shows this on the weekly time frame or something. But this is, a century ago that we're looking at. We want to look at this with the bigger candles, which means things are going to move slower. It's not going to be, at the line, rejected right away. And so with us having, and this is, it's kind of frustrating because I feel like he should be talking more about the possibility of this breaking out to the upside, because it's there's the analogy where if you have a trend line to the downside, I'm just going to draw this, I'll do it over here so my image isn't blocking it. But if you have a trend line to the downside, okay, and then I just need to get the, I don't know if it's a brush tool, and you this is, what color is that? I need to just play with this a little bit. I think I need to, okay, there we go. So let's say, you're at this line. I need to, dang it. Sorry, I'm fumbling with this a little bit. I just want to move this box over here so it's not in our way. Hopefully that fixes it. So I got the brush tool, and so let's say, dang it, keep doing this. I need to hold it. All right, so let's say you're at this trend line, you bounce, and it's, let's say, kind of a big bounce. Then you get back to it, you bounce again, that bounce gets smaller. And it's just like a ball bouncing on a floor. And eventually, what's that going to do? It's not going to be bouncing anymore, and it's going to break. And so that's applicable both to the top side and the downside. And so think about that analogy to the downside. Now reverse it. What do we have? We have a ball that bounces on the floor, comes back to it, bounces again, and then it bounces here. And then, so this is also, think about the time frame of this. It's really like, I'm kind of frustrated about it because it's like there's a line there. It's resistance until proven otherwise. And it's like, no, I mean, stock price is going higher and it's moving higher until proven otherwise. Not there's a line there that I drew, because here, this is 1929 to 2000. So this is like 70 years. And then this next one goes from 2000 to 2021. So this is like 70 years. This is like 20 years. And then how many years till it comes back? Like 4 years, like less than 4 years. So this is 70 years, 20 years, 4 years. And now we're starting the new year at that level. This is what's happening. This is where we're at. And so it's going to break, but it's not going to break to the downside. It could be breaking to the upside with AI, the technological revolutions, the new administration being very pro-innovation, pro-business, pro-industry, cutting regulations, which means, some regulations are good, environmental stuff, things like that. But some regulations, it's just bureaucracy that holds back progress. And with stuff like that happening now with us up here, we're potentially going to break above this. So in the video on Grok, I kind of talk about this and pitch a question to Grok. And he more or less agrees with me, but it could also be just because of how thorough my question was to him. But this analogy is something that Gareth uses, and for him to not recognize that these tests are getting closer and closer and the pullbacks between them are getting smaller and smaller, we're setting up to break higher. So I feel like this could be hitting 7,200 in 2025. And I don't really know why I'm going on about this, because I thought I was talking about Tesla. But yeah, I just think that I don't think this trend line is bearish. I think that here in 2021, when we got up to it, I think that was I think it was a shorter term bearish signal. And then what happened in 2022? Red candle there for the year. That was a bear market year. But then following that, 2023 has been up, 2024 has been up, and I think that we're going to continue that pattern. Or, it's possible, though it could be flat. I was just thinking, how many times do we see green, 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 and then red? This is lots of green, big red pullback, green, green, red. So I don't know. But I think that I think that we're looking forward to a very bullish 2025, but just like following 2021, I think that we could be seeing a pullback in the market, but I think that it could possibly be at that point a little bit more notable of a pullback, like possibly getting into Great Depression or recession mode. I think that we, have avoided that so far. So, I just think that you've got to be crazy, in my view, to not be recognizing that this is probably going to break to the upside, just like over here, broke to the downside with that ball analogy. So, hopefully that's helpful. I think it's super interesting. And so, Nameless, sorry, it's taken me so long to acknowledge your comment. And so I'm just going to Just following up, I'll come back to it in a second, but Chestad saying, great, thanks a lot. Yeah, no problem. And that bouncing ball analogy was pretty interesting. Yeah, Garrett's always talked about it. I think you can see it in a lot of charts that it's kind of like, too, I think it's a psychological aspect of, like, let's say I'm a retail trader and I see a level get hit. And it's like, well, I don't know that's that support, so I'm going to wait for it to bounce. And then it bounces. And then it comes back to that level. And it's like, yeah, but is it really going to bounce? It might just break through. And then it bounces. And then that retail trader's like, well, it's bounced on that level twice. It's probably going to bounce a third time. But that's when you get into like the 50-50 territory. And so the more bounces that you get, it's just like the more retail's like, well, it's happened before. It's going to happen again. And, retail's the dumb money. And the more it happens, the more likely it is to break. And a lot of times you'll see this. I had actually maybe, I don't want to get sidetracked. I mean, I could inverse the axis. I don't know, invert scale. Yeah, I mean, this is that bouncing ball analogy. So I think it's going to be breaking down. But we'll see. And this is also on the log scale, I should note. But yeah, I'm going to come back to Nameless's comment. You said AmeriCorps should become a part of education system. Could you explain what you meant in your last video? Yeah, sure. So not necessarily a part of the education system, but I mean, maybe. But so AmeriCorps, I mean, I could pull it up if you guys want me to. I don't know how interested in that stuff you are. But so AmeriCorps, maybe I'll just pull that up and see AmeriCorps.gov. And so maybe click on the About. And this has changed a little bit since I served. They also changed their logo. But so let's see what we do, our impact. I just kind of want to know what the financial aspect of it is, what the education award. Oh, man. This is actually kind of crazy because I'm a part of this history. AmeriCorps, I don't know this person, but he's wearing an NCCC, National Civilian Community Corps, and I actually provided relief in Hurricane Katrina. I was doing Habitat for Humanity in San Antonio, and I had prior disaster relief training through AmeriCorps. So I went to a Red Cross. I actually have a little certificate on my wall, a certificate of appreciation. It's on the wall. It's over there. But I got a little certificate of appreciation from the Red Cross because I volunteered at a shelter in San Antonio after Hurricane Katrina hit. But I wanted to be not just somebody who's moving stuff, but I wanted to help actually run the shelter because I was doing full-time work with Habitat. And I was just, I couldn't be spreading myself so thin unless there was like a clear need. But it just seemed like they had too many volunteers initially, and I couldn't spread myself so thin. So I volunteered a very little bit, but that's interesting. But yeah, so that's so cool though. Yeah, I mean, I could dig it out of a box, but I have these same AmeriCorps jerseys. So after Hurricane Katrina devastated a wide swath of communities along the Gulf Coast, AmeriCorps programs begin a recovery response across the region that has continued for more than a decade. Over 40,000 national service participants served nearly 10 million hours and enrolled 650,000 volunteers in the 10 years following the disaster. And 2009, this was after my day, but 1st September. Oh, yeah. But yeah, they have, I think it's called an AmeriCorps Siegel Award. So let's look up that. Okay, so maybe serve. AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps, that's what I did. So that's pretty cool. But they should have something about the education award. So I serve, I guess I got to click this. No, I don't want to fill this shit out. I just want to get information on how much you provide. This is like bad website design. Featured. What benefits are provided during and after AmeriCorps seniors? I don't want to know about seniors. How do I need to? But I mean, maybe if you're a senior, you can serve as a senior. A lot of AmeriCorps is targeting people freshly out of college. I went after high school, before college, and how old do I need? So it can vary, but it has to be at least 18, kind of like similar to a military. Um, um, let's see, Siegel AmeriCorps education. Oh, maybe I'll look up benefits first. Your benefits, living allowance. I mean, it was like pretty minimal. Money for college and trade school. So the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award is offered to individuals who complete a term of service and can be used to pay for a range of educational expenses, like repaying qualified student loans or future tuition payments. You can earn up to 2 full education awards with multiple service terms. So yeah, I did 2 years. First year was 10 months. Second year was 11 months. So I got 2 of these awards, but when they were much smaller. So I'm curious to know how much they are right now. And so let's see about that. And then so I'll kind of elaborate how I think that this program could be expanded to kind of like a two birds, one stone. And I'll get to that in a minute. But so Siegel AmeriCorps Education Awards, use your service experience and take a step forward, a step toward your higher education goals. So about the Education Award, after successfully completing your AmeriCorps term of service and enrolling in the National Service Trust, you are eligible to receive the Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award. You can use the award to repay qualified student loans and to pay current educational expenses at eligible institutions of higher education and training programs. And so what I used mine for was I did not get good enough grades in high school to go into college. And so I had to demonstrate that I could get good enough grades to go to college, to get accepted. And so I used my education award to take, I think, 2 or 3 courses. I think I did like college algebra and biology. And I think that's it. At a community college, got a B and an A or something. I don't know. Maybe I got B's, and I got my grades high enough so that I wasn't necessarily accepted into the university, but I was able to enroll in their continuing education program, which got me into classes that were not filled. And then I could continue to prove that I'm not an idiot. And then I eventually, the following year, fully enrolled in the university. But let's see what they are. The value of an educational award, the amount of a full-time Siegel AmeriCorps Education Award is equivalent to the maximum value of the Pell Grant for the fiscal year in which the term of national service is approved. The amount of Pell Grant can change each year. Therefore, the amount of a full-time award can change. Once an individual earns an award, the dollar amount of that award will not change. The award amount varies based on the term of service completed. And so for me, like I said, my education award basically paid for 2 community college classes, and that was 2 years. I got 2 classes, very minimal. And so it'd be nice. They previously just had a dollar amount, and so I'm kind of frustrated that they don't just have a dollar amount here. Okay, so Siegel AmeriCorps Education Awards amount for national service positions approved in fiscal year 2024. So let's see, participation types full-time. And so I believe that's what I did. Or full-time, I'm not sure. I mean, how they define this, because I did 2 years, but it was a 10-month position and an 11-month position. So, I mean, maybe one of them counted as 3/4 time, but I mean, I was doing it full-time for that 10 and 11 months. So I'd say that I was full-time. And so that would be, $7,000 towards higher education. And then 3/4 time, that'd be about 5,000. Half time, 3,500. And so, yeah, I mean, there are varying amounts to this. And so this is kind of like downscaling from, full-time for a year down to abbreviated time, whatever the minimum number of hours. So that's 100 hours, I guess. I'm not going to do the math on what my terms of service were relative to this chart. But so kind of my idea is like what they're doing here is they're scaling this down. So if you want to commit a full year of your life to AmeriCorps, to serving your country, to building it up better, whether that's with disaster relief, whether that's natural disasters like hurricanes or forest fires, working in schools, working in state parks, national parks, different parts of the world. You get to see different parts of different parts of the country. You get to see different parts of the country. And so, with that being said, they're like scaling this down so you can abbreviate your time. And the skills that you're learning are, very specific to AmeriCorps, which like a lot of it is focused on like inner city education or areas in need, rural areas that don't have the resources for education. I worked at Boys and Girls Club in like the foothills in Tennessee, the Blue Ridge Mountains there. I worked in Jackson, Mississippi at schools there. And so aspects like that. I worked at state parks in South Carolina I think that was the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I was in the Great Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. Sorry about that. I think I got that right, but it's been a while. 20 years, crazy. And then let's see. Also did roofing in Florida with not Habitat for Humanity. It was Rebuild Together, I think. And then I also, let's see. So I kind of, varying projects. And so that was kind of, I think one of the critiques of that program, I think that's also, kind of the factor with like government efficiency. We were spread too thin. We couldn't focus on accomplishing something. And right now, like, what does the country need? Think about, it's like the JFK quote, think not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And, what does the country need? The country has a pretty bad infrastructure, whether that's bridges, roads, also the electric grid. We see that with Texas pretty much every winter. There's some power outage. Also with, developments in AI and all of the computational power that's going on. We need to better improve our energy grid. And also, renewable energy aspects of that. And so I think that if this is especially targeting people who are out of college or maybe considering going to college, why not shift this program to focus not on, or aspects of it to focus on disaster relief and education, but to have a bigger aspect of it focus on building up the country's infrastructure. And with that could be either getting people out of college who don't know exactly what they want to do, who have engineering degrees, for example, to then enroll in a program like AmeriCorps so they can pay off some of that student debt. And then it's taking the skills that they have and applying them not to fighting forest fires or not to disaster relief at a Red Cross station following a hurricane, and not to tutoring or education in school is definitely very important, but there are other aspects of AmeriCorps that already tackle that. And so rather than, and I think that this definitely is a more appealing target for this is probably going to be college graduates who have debt. And if those college graduates are skilled in areas, like I said, engineering, or, different aspects similar to that, they could then be paying off that student loan, that student debt through this service. But perhaps rather than it being an amount that doesn't make a dent in somebody that has, $100,000 of debt, I got friends that have that. I was fortunate to avoid that. I managed to, the way that I navigated college, I had some debt, but I paid it off during grad school. Um, but yeah, just thinking about this, rather than just doing student loan forgiveness, not what our country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And so I think that building up a program like AmeriCorps, expanding it, not reducing the amount of time that you can serve, not capping it at 2 years, but perhaps turning this into, hey, you have an engineering degree and we need to build up the infrastructure in Texas or whatever state that you're in. We're going to give you whatever stipend. You'll be making a comfortable living. But the big selling point is part of your award, your education award, will be a notable, a massive, more than $7,000 reduction in your $100,000 of debt or whatever that you're in. And that would be, harnessing skills that people have that they get from higher education, which reinforces the value of higher education, that implements the skills that they have gained from that higher education to build up the country, and that reduces their debt while strengthening the country. And perhaps this could be turned into not just a capped at 2-year program, but could be integrated with businesses. So not necessarily nonprofits, or maybe there's a nonprofit aspect to it. I don't really know. But that would then say, hey, you got an engineering degree. You serve for 2 years with this company, building up the electric grid that's aligned with what the national interest is. And if you serve well, you then got a career with that company. And so I just think that's a much more appealing aspect than student loan forgiveness. I think it's a much better way to utilize young adults that maybe don't know exactly what they're doing right after college, and to harness and to utilize those skills that they have. And maybe they don't have an engineering degree. Maybe they have a business management degree or something like that. And that could also be applied to improving infrastructure. And so to me, building up programs like AmeriCorps, I think it could be not something that should be cut, but maybe aspects of it should be cut. Like, this right here, that's negligible. You're not going to have a meaningful impact in your community. Maybe you can. I think that you definitely could. I feel like I had a meaningful impact in the foothills in Tennessee. I connected with a kid that at least was very meaningful for me. And I think it was for the kid as well, but lost touch, all of that. But yeah, 100 hours, $400. Let's cut out all of the administrative overhead for this negligible amount of service, and let's focus more on the top heavy side, the heavy lifting, the building up the country. And I think that leaning into programs like AmeriCorps, leading into the Department of Government Efficiency, leaning into people's degrees, and also holding universities accountable for the inflation of tuition that has gotten out of hand. The result is people just have massive amounts of unpayable student loans. And I don't think that we all should be burdened with the forgiveness of those loans. But I think that, as a country, I think that we should lean more into national service. And I think that we should lean away from military industrial complex, because I think that there's too much financial incentives to be getting into wars when in a lot of ways the country on our home front is falling apart. So yeah, I'm just excited about this idea, but it's nothing. So yeah, so hopefully that was interesting and helpful. I know it's a big tangent, and I might actually, I might take cuts from this and put it on my other channel just because I think it's applicable for them. But I'm gonna edit out the not financial advice and ed and stuff. But thanks for the question. But yeah, Oh yeah, and sorry, the big tangent there. I'll get back to the. And so, Nameless, could you update? Excuse me, on Pags. So yeah, I definitely will do that. And let's see, going back to the chart, I'm just lots of nostalgia there. Just kind of in pride, very proud of my service. So let's see. I'm very proud of it, but it was very difficult, and I was very frustrated by a lot of aspects of it. But in all honesty, I feel like I'm always like I feel like I always try to figure out how to do things better, and it was just like a lot of things were done very inefficiently. So it was a and not that fairly in some ways. So it was pretty frustrating, but very proud of my service, and I think that everybody should serve in some way, whether that's military or national service like AmeriCorps. But anyways, PAGs. Let's go over PAGs. And so this one, I mean, I think it's still like the same kind of scenarios I was talking about before. I think it's come down. I think this is probably a bear flag. Um, and so, yeah, because I think I had gone over this last week. And yeah, so I had drawn this. It did break lower. I mean, it's gone higher. Yeah, so I mean, maybe this was like some hope with this green move, but it's just such a big wick to the upside, closing, much lower than that. And so still like the high from over here is like 650. Couldn't get a close above that. Closed here at 641, and then a bearish engulfing candle on Friday. So this just seems pretty weak. But I mean, I would say like 611, that's the low there. Don't want to be getting any closes lower than that. But I feel like at this point, it might be, coming down to this downtrend that I had drawn there. So, yeah. I know that question about AmeriCorps has gotten me like daydreaming and stuff. So maybe it's also that I'm just tired. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is probably a bear flag, and so I'd look out for 611. And I mean, if it wicks below and closes below 611, I think it's probably going maybe down to 6 or in the fives. So unfortunately, I don't think it looks that great. But I mean, but if it does, start to consolidate here for a while, like this to me still looks like it could just be a bear flag and break lower. But if this really starts to hold for a while, it's possible this could be the bottom. But with that, yeah, I mean, because I have that trend line over here. But again, like kind of like that bouncing ball analogy, it's red lines here, bounces. And then now, so yeah, I mean, with that being said, 611. Don't want to get any closes below it. I mean, maybe it closes. Yeah, I mean, it's always tough, a stop loss, accepting a loss. It's tough to do. But 611, I don't want to see a close below it. So that's what I'd be still looking for. But it could be bouncing from this red trend line and going higher. And so a negation of that possibility of a bounce would be further consolidation and a close below 611. If it closed below 611, then it would like need to reclaim the levels over here. So if it does close below 611, it need to show some strength for any hope of a bounce. But yeah, and with that being said, I think I was saying in last week's stream that it had previously just wicked to this level, and then it wicked to this level here, but then it wicked below on the 19th of December. And so that could be, that it wicks below and then it goes higher. And then the next time it retraces to, it doesn't only touch, wicks below, then it breaks below. So this could be the time when it still has potential for another bounce, but still a lot of risk at this point. So 611, keep an eye on that. No closes below. And then Nameless follows up on some of the stuff from the other video. The polar bear almost got you guys. What is the story there? So let's see. I'd have to pull up photos, I think, I'd have to organize them. It's like I've got them on a hard drive somewhere. But let's see. To be honest, I'm like Trying to figure it out where, like, so I think in PowerPoint, open recent. I thought I had a PowerPoint for that. Oh yeah, DGen Ed 25. Yeah. So this polar bear story. What we were doing is, so like the instruments that I would normally work with is, and I can go over this in a video if you want to learn about oceanography, but the instruments that I would work with was basically a carousel. It's kind of like a little, you know, something like this, a cylinder that has a bunch of little bottles on it. And we'd lower that instrument to the bottom of the ocean. And then as it comes back up, we close the bottle, sample water at different depths, and then we do chemical analyses on that water to understand the amount of carbon in the water, the amount of oxygen, nutrients, salt, what the temperature of the water is, stuff like that. But this instrument that we had in the water at this time was actually one that I was not involved in the sampling of it or anything, but it's an instrument they send over the edge, connected to the ship on a wire, that it's a pump that goes into the water. And actually, I think it's a series of pumps. So you have this wire going from the surface of the ocean all the way to the bottom or close to the bottom. And there are these pumps attached to it at different depths. And then it sits there for like 5 hours or something, pumping water through filters. So they concentrate any material that's in the water onto these filters. And so the deployment of that instrument is spend a lot of time deploying the wire, attaching instruments to it, lowering it. And then once all the pumps are at the right depths, it's like, okay, let them pump for 5 hours. And so in that time, if you're out on in the Arctic Ocean, it's like just snow and ice covering the ocean, and you can walk on it as we are here. You know, I'm in the photo right here, and that's at the North Pole, by the way. So if you're out on the ice, all you see is white. The sky's white, just like in this photo. The surface of the ocean's white, and like you can walk on it, and it's just nothing but white. And so if you're a predator, a ranging predator, you don't always get lots of food. You need to fill up that belly to survive. And so if you see anything on the horizon that's not white, you might inspect it. And so we got this big red ship. Polar bear sees the red ship, and it's sitting there for like 5 hours. So it came up to the ship. I was using a telephoto lens, so it was probably like 100 feet away from us, maybe 200 feet. I'm not the best at approximations like that. And it was just kind of pacing around a little bit, seeing what we're doing, kind of curious. And when the bear came up to the ship, I was actually in a hangar running on a treadmill. And I have some photos from this. They issued us little pagers. This is on a U.S. Coast Guard vessel. And they'd communicate with pagers on board if, hey, the Northern Lights, hey, there's a bear, hey, something's happening that's of emergency, or, you know, whatever. They'd communicate with these pagers. And, walruses, pagers. And so I'm on the treadmill. I brought the pager, even though I don't need it for my run. But, maybe something happens. So I'm on my run, see a little thing, polar bear. And so I'm wearing like gym shorts. I got my coat, and then I just go out to the fantail, or the rear of the ship. So that's over here. And I just go out, grab my camera because I see that there's this polar bear there. I start taking photos, and it just hangs out for like 20 minutes, pacing around. And we're all pretty much just hanging out in the back of the ship. This nice little community, just admiring this beautiful animal. And then after 20 minutes or so, it loses interest and goes away because it can't get on the ship. And I think that it recognizes that if it comes up to the ship, there's going to be problems, because it's possible that shots were fired to scare it away, but I don't think so. And then there were other sights of bears on this expedition, but then I went on another one. So this was in 2014, uh, 2015. I went back to the Arctic in 2018, and we actually did work where we were stationary for like a month, drifting with an ice floe, so a big chunk of sea ice. And so because we were stationary, polar bears would pass through our little like camp that we had set up. And I didn't spend much time on the ice because I was normally analyzing seawater samples in a lab on the ship. But there would be people that would go out frequently, spend a lot of time on the ice. And so there would be bears that would pass through the camp. And a couple of times there's, a mama bear and cubs. And so I think that's like just a really beautiful thing to witness because, it's just like Mother Nature and a beautiful, fragile snippet of that world. But with the mama bear and her cubs, there was this French guy on board who I remember talking to him about it afterwards. And he was like traumatized because I'm not going to say the word, the weapons that we carried, but I didn't frequently carry one. But I did once. I did get training on it, and I was actually one of the best shots. We did clay pigeons from the back of the ship, and we do like 5 in a row. And like the first couple rounds, I nailed all of them. So I was pretty proud of that. And they were like, "Oh my God, this guy must be American," which I don't have much experience in that area. It was just the weapon was well suited for me, or I was well suited for it. I don't know. But anyways, this French guy that I was talking with, he was kind of traumatized because it was just like the scenario running through his head of like, there are people out on the ice when these bears are coming through. We need to get everybody off the ice. But if I encounter one of these bears, or this mama bear and her cubs, or I think it was a mama bear and 1 cub. We later saw a mama and 2. And it was just this contemplation of, which do I shoot? Do I shoot the mama bear or do I shoot the cub? Because if you shoot the mama bear and it dies, the cub's going to die. So what you have to do, first, shots fired in the air to scare them away with the noise. But if that doesn't deter them, it's just like running through this guy's head. He's coming to the conclusion that he would have to shoot this cub. And I just remember him being very stirred up about that. And so like on U.S. vessels, like the Coast Guard, no bars, no alcohol. I was on a Swedish, I think it was a Swedish icebreaker. There was a bar on board. So I think I was talking to this French guy at the bar. And yeah, he was pretty upset about this, like coming to terms with the fact that the right decision is to shoot the bear, the cub, because, and then I think he was also debating, the mama bear's big enough. If he shoots that, it could survive. So it's just so much going through your head with that. But yeah, great experience, but I'm not necessarily blacklisted from the oceanographic community, but I left that career path. And so I don't think I'll ever be going out to sea again, which is kind of tough because I did enjoy like the adventure aspect of it, but the isolation and really kind of like the exploitation of it because you're doing like nonstop work and you're like obsessed with it. It's stuff that you really care about, but it's just like, I'm much more excited about if there are problems with climate change that are really going to affect us in the world. I don't think the solution is obsessing over understanding the problem by doing academic research. I think the solution is obsessing over solving the problem with companies like Tesla and renewable energy efficiency. And Bitcoin addresses that in a lot of ways. It monetizes energy consumption, which means it can monetize renewable energy development. And so, and just like the groupthink or whatever around stuff like crypto was that it's bad, dismiss it. And it's like, well, I mean, you should take your time to learn about these things. You're supposed to be academics learning, but instead it was really just like groupthink and focusing on publishing number of papers, not quality of papers. And so, yeah, I mean, I didn't vibe with that over time. And it wasn't putting me in a better place. Like, I'm going to be in a better place because of trading, because I've stuck with it and I've learned from mistakes and whatnot. And so, yeah, that's kind of the story about the polar bear. And I can elaborate more if wanted with some more photos and maybe some videos. And so USA has the most roads, airports, and railways in the world. Our infrastructure needs to be improved or renewed, like you say. Yeah, and you bring up the point about airports and railways. I think that's a great point because I'm not sure who was talking about this. Maybe it was a clip I saw on X. I'm not sure. But about government waste. And this comes from both sides. Like Bill Maher on his show Real Time, which is like super cringe a lot of the time. But he has brought up some good points recently that's just like, yeah, I mean, that's right. But in talking about like how it was like millions of dollars for like a bathroom in like downtown San Francisco. And the reason why it costs so much for just like a small bathroom is because of all of the regulations and all of these loopholes, bureaucracy that has to be jumped through. And then also like the train, the high-speed rail in California. It's just like billions of dollars has been thrown into that. And like a small stretch has been built. It's not like functional or something. I don't really know that much about it. But yeah, engineers in high demand. And this also reminds me of like the quote from Interstellar. Maybe I could pull it up, and maybe this is worth playing. I don't have my headphones with me, so yeah, so let's see. You guys might just hear what I hear, but I'm just going to pull it up because maybe I'll leave AmeriCorps up there. But let's see, Interstellar teacher scene. I'll look that up. Realizing the irony of the classroom scene. And so I wonder if this is going in the direction that I'm thinking. But in that, they say, we don't need engineers. We need farmers. And so that's a movie set in the not so distant future. And I think that what it's telling us is right now, we don't need farmers. We need farmers, of course, but we don't need like this old school approach to things. Like they had basically gone backwards in their progress because they neglected the need and the utility of engineering. And in that scene, they say, we don't need engineers, we need farmers. And Murph is an engineer and a pilot and, all of this stuff. And the reality was, at that time, they needed engineers to solve the problems, not people to sit around and talk about what the problems are. And so I just find that to be like a really interesting thing. I'd be so encouraging if someone was to go to college, which I feel like the value of that has gone down, in the past 20 years, or maybe just the past 10 years. I'm not sure. But I think that a degree in engineering or computer science I think that there's just so much utility in that, in solving today's problems, in building up a compelling world, a compelling future for us. And so anyways, I'm just going to pull up this clip. Maybe I'll get a copyright strike on it, but I can mute it later. And so I'm sorry if the audio is terrible, but and so, I just think that's makes a really nice point. You can listen to that and think that, at this time in the movie, sure, you understand that, but that's like a foreshadowing of we need engineers now to be innovating in ways that avert the kind of crisis that could be looming in the future. So, yeah, I mean, if somebody was to go to college, I feel like engineering, computer science, very valuable. I also wonder how much of that can be learned uh, independent of college, and if there are, from what I understand, businesses, corporations that would be hiring based on evidence of what you can do rather than a diploma. And yeah, so I just think right now we're not at the point where we just need farmers because we're just trying to survive. We're at the point where we can be thriving. And so that is all about innovation, ideas, engineering, computer science. I just think that there's so many opportunities in that space, whereas just struggling with the idea of understanding what the problems are, we need to be solving them. So I think that that's a big takeaway for me. I love that movie. I think it's probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite. So hopefully, yeah, that's interesting and compelling aspect to add to the AmeriCorps thing. And so let's see. We do not have much high-speed rail. What do you think? No, yeah. So I mean, I live in Iowa, not too far from Chicago. I would love to be able to get to Chicago for a weekend, to go to a show, to go to a game, to just have some fun in the city. And the way that I have to do that is I take the Amtrak, which means I drive an hour away to a parking lot in the middle of nowhere. And then I sit on a train for maybe 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. Maybe it gets stuck in a snowdrift. Maybe Union Pacific has priority over the rail that stretch, and we got to sit and wait for Union Pacific to go by. Or the alternative is I take a bus there. And there used to be a bus called the Megabus. It was a double-decker bus. You get Wi-Fi on it, which is not really a big deal anymore. But and that was, from where I live to Chicago, no stops, get there quicker than you could drive, right to downtown, and it was comfortable. The bus was big, but that's since gone away. Now it's like effectively Greyhound, which is like there are multiple stops along the way, really crowded, really uncomfortable. And so those are like the only two options. And, I think, we need to have, just like we have the interstate infrastructure, we need to have something like that, but not with rail that's shared with freight like Union Pacific. We need a high-speed rail that's human only, human cargo only, and start building it up from. I mean, I think, New York to DC, there might be something there, but I feel like they just use Amtrak. I'm not sure. Because I know Joe Biden is very big into trains. And so I think that, Amtrak. But I mean, like you could be connecting Chicago to Indianapolis. I don't know. But it's just like start building up, connecting these cities. And, there's not really a big city in Iowa. There's Des Moines. That would be great. And then that could maybe have a stop where I live. But yeah, there's not an efficient way to get from point A to C or Z without having a ton of stops along the way. They're super inconvenient. High-speed rail would accomplish that. And we just don't have that. I mean, part of it is because the U.S. is such a expansive country. But at the same time, if we can build the interstate system, we can build a high-speed rail system, and that would arguably be much simpler because you wouldn't need necessarily all the intricacies of it. And you could have, like when I lived in Miami, there was they don't have the best public transportation system, but they had the metro rail. But then once you get into downtown, they'd have the people mover, I think is what it's called. And so that's just like a smaller scale little train. And so you just have a larger scale trains connecting big cities. And then if you got smaller areas that you need to connect with, you just have like people mover type of things, much smaller scale. And that would be built up, I imagine, not on like a federal budget, but on a state or municipality budget. And that just, makes much more sense than Greyhound or Amtrak. I mean, Amtrak is like, I don't know how many years old that is, but it's just way outdated. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just going on totally off stock tangents and stuff. But it's interesting stuff. And I think I'm going to take clips from this to post on my other channel and to just, well, give them a little Happy New Year, but I don't make videos for it anymore. But I feel like that's kind of a useful message. But yeah, I mean, with that being said, I've streamed for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So I am going to sign off because my bedtime was 20 minutes ago. Even though I don't have to work tomorrow, market's open. It's nice to get going on the day. So with that being said, I'm going to throw this up here. I'm sure you guys are already subscribed, but if you haven't liked the stream, please make sure you like it. I do appreciate it. And I do appreciate all the comments that you guys have left over like the past 3 months or so. I responded to all of those today. But yeah, as always, this has just been, my thoughts. And hopefully it's helpful. And hopefully the week's exciting. I'm really excited for this week. I think that the S&P 500. I think that's one thing that I did want to mention that I kind of skipped over because I was looking at it too large scale. And so I don't even need, a lot of people are thinking, this is potentially a head and shoulders pattern. But we got to bounce here. We didn't break that neckline. And I think that that's really just like, it could be a head and shoulders pattern. But I think overall, just like I was showing in with the bouncing ball, if we're below long-term resistance that's uptrending and the candles can be viewed on a year scale for each candle, we could be seeing more upside for another year plus possibly. But we could also be seeing a top being put in this year. But that doesn't mean that I'm bearish right now. It means that I might be later. And between now and then, it means that we got a good amount of upside. So I'm excited about that. Would you look at GDXU before you go? Yeah, most definitely. Let's see the requests. So GDXU. Gold miners. I actually wonder... I think I have I'm just going to see if I have gold and silver. I'm going to add it to this list. GDXU. GDXU. This is 3x leveraged. I like ETFs when they're leveraged just because, if you're going to trade an ETF, sometimes they can be super boring. And so with this... So as far as with the leverage goes, it's tough to say. I really haven't looked. As you can see, my last line is here. If you're interested in gold, I would 100% recommend listening to Gareth Soloway's game plan tomorrow morning. I can pull that up from Gareth Soloway. This is his channel. He does, live stream every morning. It starts half an hour before the market opens, usually goes for about 20 minutes. And he talks about gold every single day before market opens and Monday through Thursday when the markets open. He does trading to close and he does a follow-up on whatever commodities, including gold. And so I'd encourage you to follow or tune into his game plan tomorrow and see what he thinks about gold, because gold for me, it kind of bores me. And I feel like the gains I would get doing a similar trade with something else would be larger. So it's like gold, I might make a 5% return, whereas trading something else would be 10%. So I'll go with that. But doing something with leverage, that's interesting. That makes it more interesting. So I tune into that, and maybe you forget to do it. I'll post on the community page of the channel, and kind of my thoughts with what he's saying about gold. That could be. So I think that's probably better than me going over it right now, because I don't think I'd add too much. So yeah, so hopefully that was helpful. But yeah, I'm gonna get to bed because I'm tired because my eyes are closing and stuff. But yeah, and I appreciate the questions about stocks. I also appreciate the questions about AmeriCorps and the polar bears because yeah, it's just nice to share stories and if listening to me ramble about this stuff is entertaining, enjoyable for you guys, I'm happy to share that stuff. And I could definitely put together a more like comprehensive visual story of some of that stuff later. But for now, yeah, I'm gonna get not ready for bed just yet. I still have a little bit of this to finish, but I'm gonna relax a little bit before I turn in. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. Yeah, good night, Nameless, and have a wonderful week trading. And let's see. I don't know. Yeah, it's possible I'll stream during the week. I'm not sure. But yeah, take care, you guys. I'll see you later.